Alright you lot, don't forget to give us a follow on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and while you're at it, give us a 5-star rating. Trust me, it really does help us out.
I was going to say, does it concern you moving forward, into future seasons? Obviously, when I'm not saying this in like a washed way, because he's obviously still a brilliant driver. But with George as a teammate who's only going to grow and only going to get faster, does that concern you moving forward into next season?
Yes.
Simple answer.
I've said for a while now that he's me and him are the same age, right?
Yeah.
37, 38 years old, and there is a zenith in every F1 driver's career as far as age, right? F1 is a young man's game. Let's be frank.
Yeah,
by telling Alonso that.
Oh, yeah, true, but yeah.
In 10 years when he's like 57.
He and Lewis, ironically, might be the exception that proved the rule. But what I would say about Lewis, if you compare 2014 Lewis to 2022 Lewis, you see the difference, right? You see the difference, and there's a stat that people keep banding around. At Lewis's age or older, there's only been about 6 or 7 drivers who have ever won a championship, and only about 4 or 5 within the last 50 years. Mansell was one, Prost was another one, Andretti being the other one in the 80s. It doesn't happen too often. F1 is a young man's game, and I just think this is, Father Time is undefeated, right? So in that sense, I am a tad concerned if I harbour hopes for Lewis winning the 8th in the end before he hangs up his Nomex.
No.
Well, I guess that's an interesting question, actually. Do you think the 8th is on the cards for next season at all? Obviously, Mercedes need to improve quite drastically because the Ferrari and Red Bull, are so far ahead.
The problem as well is this cost cap. Obviously, it's supposed to be there to make the teams be a lot closer. But the problem is the teams that are further back now can't spend the money to catch up to the rest of the teams. So that's the big factor. Can Mercedes put their money in the right places to improve the car where it needs to be to get it closer to the Red Bull and the Ferrari? So that is the problem that they are looking at. I think, drivers are going to make mistakes. I think they're looked upon a bit more when you're in the midfield, because obviously you've got a lot more going on. It's, we've seen Lewis at the front a lot of the time. He's only had to really battle one driver for first or second. So that's going to come into a bit more. We saw it with Max Verstappen today. Max Verstappen has been incredibly inconsistent. He's made 2 mistakes I can count this season. Hungary, where he did a spin, and then he overtook Leclerc again the next lap.
He was just bored. He just wanted to do it.
And then today, the big lock-up on the inside. And again, it's one of those things that from watching outside, you can tell it could come because there's a wet line there. Watching, please don't do that. You're praying that they're going to make it through the corner, and unfortunately, they didn't. But Max is just in this amazing position right now where he can make a mistake and he can still wrap the title up in Japan. So for him, it's not too much of an issue, him making a mistake. But for Lewis, I wouldn't say I'm too concerned. There's a lot of people who are always like, Lewis is going to retire after this season. He's going to retire. For me personally, I think Lewis is still in it for the long haul. I think he has that drive to win more and more and more. Like, to have the drive to go again and get 7 championships, that's incredible. But I feel like he's not someone who's going to be like, I get the 8th, I've taken it by 1, I'm happy with that. No, he wants to set another benchmark. He wants to go further. Is it possible that it's going to be there? Well, I don't know. It might happen next week with the cost cap thing. But it all depends on car. Like, it's always been in Formula 1. You have to be, the best driver of the season, but also have the right car underneath you.
I don't even think that it's the fact that he's wanting another champion. I think he's just genuinely enjoying driving right now as well, because as Alonso even said that he can only drive from the Ferrari to this guy, but no, he can drive in the midfield, and he's happy there because he gets to drive other drivers. He said last week, or was it 2 weeks ago, when you're driving at the front, it can get a bit lonely up there because there's no one around, you just drive off. But now he's battling other people, he's enjoying himself, he gets to actually just be talented and use his skills, which is great. But that 8th world title to secure him as one of the greatest drivers of all time is still in the remark.
I don't see a world where he retires before he takes an 8th.
It'll be a Alonso situation. You just keep on going to try and get that extra championship.
I don't see a world where that doesn't happen. Obviously, a little bit of a tough day for him. Tough day for George as well. Tough day for Mercedes all round, really.
I think Mercedes.
It's always going to be tough at a track like Singapore.
L of the weekend for Mercedes as a team, I think, unfortunately, with the mistakes from Lewis's side, and then George with the qualifying, then starting from the pit lane. Singapore, as you said earlier, it's Monaco with at night time. You know, it's very difficult to overtake around there.
Monaco at night time. Well,
It is.
no,
It's
Rob.
just very difficult.
Monaco
to
does
overtake.
have a night time, by the way. It is the night time sometimes in Monaco.
We've never seen it. We will
We've
never
never-
know.
Who
It
knows?
doesn't exist.
Yeah, the casino's open during the day only.
But yeah, and then they sort of used him as the guinea pig going on to the mediums too early, and he just dropped off so much time. And then from his side, the mistake with the Schumacher crash, it came up no further investigation, so nothing came from it. But he just kind of veered off to the right, to the outside to get back onto that dry racing line. Schumacher isn't going to disappear. They come together, both get a puncture, and they're both out of the race.
Yeah.
It's just one of those tough ones for me, like because he had nothing to lose as well as far as the tyre strategy is concerned. But yeah, not the greatest day at the office for him. I
Not
guess.
the greatest day. And again, if we're going to big up George Russell, uncharacteristically so, right? What's the record? Every race that he's finishing in the top
This is the
5.
first time,
Yeah.
And you want to be
Mad.
Silverstone and DNF. He's nailed it. And again, I said at the start of the season that Lewis was going to clean his clock, right? And it hasn't quite happened. I expect.
I've never heard that in my life. I like it.
I will say this though. I expect the performance between the two to normalise in longer form between now and the end of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if Lewis does turn it round. But again, what we've seen there it doesn't fill me with with massive hope. Uncharacteristic mistakes from Sir Lewis Hamilton. Goat. Bloody no.
That was during the race, but we saw that he can perform. Like, what did they start today? P3, P4?
Lewis.
Yeah, sorry,
P3,
P4.
yeah.
Was it P3? So the car's getting better. He can clearly still drive as soon as he gets the right package.
Is it
if
though, Dirk?
I think next season, if
Is
if
it really?
he gets a car he's happy with, same as Ricciardo.
But that's a very different. That's a very different thing from your initial assertion that the car is getting better. Is it not?
No. I'm saying now it looks, from what I'm seeing, it looks like the car's getting better and he's getting more confident with it.
I think we'll have to see when we get to tracks that, because I think Singapore was spoken of as their last chance to get a race win, because it's a circuit that's same as they were very good in Zandvoort. It's very short. There's not a lot of straights. It's very technical. A lot of slow speed corners. And that's where they're going to gain. So we'll see over the rest of the season, but we're going to places like USA. It's quite a lot of straights, quite a lot of fast corners.
Yeah.
Mexico is definitely very
Luca's going to be
them.
chaos for them.
Yeah.
So to Hayden's point, this track, if anywhere
Was
you were
gonna
going
be
to
their
see
best one.
W13
Yeah, I guess he
nail it, it was
yeah.
going to be here. And sadly,
wasn't
it didn't
the case.
quite work out. So it's going to be a long road
That was the
between.
problem. Like
bet-
5
There was, yeah.
hundredths off. It was so close to that pole position, and then that's the thing. It just fell. And that's what we're both most frustrated with, is that it is the mistake that cost them what could have been a really good result once it got into the dry and they could really fire up those tyres.